Hello, everyone.
Hey there, folks.
This is Avery.
And this is Rita.
And you're listening to I Don't Know Her, the podcast where we talk about women
And some other folks.
that you've probably never heard of.
But she should have.
And today you will.
And you will, whether you like it or not.
First thing we want to do is we're recording on the day after the Memphis police have released the video of Tyre. We are not watching the video, but I did read the timeline and saw some of the shots from it. And it's horrific. And once again, is a testament to this country's fucked up relationship with policing and race. And it's deplorable.
Like, once again, here we are having the same conversation.
Yes.
Again and again and again.
A terrible conversation we shouldn't have to have. And I can't believe we have to have it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So this is how policing in America works. And it is a broken system. And I have thoughts and feelings about it. I want it to be dismantled entirely.
So do I.
I'm on the extreme end of that. And I know some of our listeners probably are not, but I cannot see how it serves communities. It serves the rich and the white, and that is it.
And it serves police themselves.
Mm. So that's the only thing we're going to say on that. We hope everybody who's listening will contribute funds to Tyre's family, to anti-policing and defunding and abolitionist movements. If you need any suggestions, we have those as well.
The other thing we're going to touch on is a little update on my ex-husband, who Avery let our listeners know what was going on with him. Things were looking up, and then early this morning, he had to go back to the hospital. It's going to be a struggle for him to get, I don't know if he can get back to 100, but get to where he's comfortable. But I just want to say thank you to everybody who messaged, who donated to his GoFundMe. He's in a comfortable position right now, but now with another trip to the hospital, it's like, I don't know how many more we're going to have. It's just going to be day to day. I talked to him this morning. He's pretty tired and he was in a lot of pain this morning. So he's getting some rest right now, and we're just going to keep hoping that he'll get better and better. Talking to him on the phone, one thing that's been really special that's happened between us is I was very unsure, like after we got separated, what our relationship would be like, if we'd be friends or what kind of love it would be, because it's a different kind of love. And I really realized we still love each other very much. And he told me, like, don't bother with this, don't bother with that. And I was like, I will always be here for you. Yeah. And I meant it. And I know that he would do the same for me. And so walking away from when we had that discussion, it's really nice to know that we can still love each other, but in a different way. Like, in a way, this has brought us to kind of a, what's the word? An understanding of where we sit with each other. He knows that I'll be there, and I know that he'll be there. And it's very comforting to know that, because it was scary separating from him because, like, do you lose that person entirely?
Yeah.
Yeah. And especially when our kid gets older, are we ever going to speak again? And to me, it feels very reassuring to know that we'll be there.
I think that is very beautiful, and I'm glad that you guys have that kind of relationship. And I think it's really important for your son to see that just because a romantic relationship ends doesn't mean the love goes away or that you have to be enemies. Like, you can still be partners in different ways. Mm-hmm.
It just felt very special.
I do want to say something. I talked to Nick's sister a little bit about funding stuff, and Providence, thankfully, was really good about writing off a lot of the
nice
issue, like the debt stuff. But as we talked about yesterday, prior to him going back to the hospital, living expenses, he's not going to be able to work for quite some time.
Yeah.
So if you are wanting to donate, that is still something I think that would be helpful in kind, because Nick will not be able to work for quite a while.
Yeah, he's got a long road to recovery, and his body's been through so much trauma. It's like he doesn't need to push it.
Well, and one of his main sources of income was doing like window paintings. What are those called? I can't think of it right now.
Like window art, displays, things like that.
And, so he can't like be on ladders. He can't be like doing that kind of work.
Getting
right
up
now.
And down on the ladders and stuff, like because of his lung capacity now and his heart.
And even just like being dizzy, he can't do any of the kind of work he's been doing in the past. So, and obviously he can't sing right now because he doesn't have the lung capacity, and he's also a musician. That was another source of income for him. So, if you're interested in donating, I do encourage you to still do that, because imagine what it would be like if you were an income earner and then could no longer work. Like it's a lot.
I know he was talking about before he just went back in. He's like, I wonder if I could. I was like, don't you dare.
Well, and I do encourage you, and if our listeners have other suggestions, I would love to hear them. Have him talk about or like look into getting disability, because you can get temporary. Because it's a source of income for sure for people who cannot work. Right, like he's in that position. He's unable to work. That's what it's for.
And on a lighter note, we had some fun last night as friends, which was great.
Yes,
it was very needed.
Yeah, we managed to get Rita to have a Friday night off.
Woo!
Abby wanted to have just a little small gathering of folks to celebrate her birthday, so we went and threw axes for the first time. Hatchets, actually.
Hatchets, yeah.
There is a place that does like the full axe. And I was like, you know what? I'm not doing that.
No.
After having thrown the hatchet, I'm good on that size of implement.
It's harder than it looks.
Yeah.
I am not good.
I got good though.
I could see the fire in you. You were getting so pissed because you were not making it at first.
Oh, I was just frustrated with myself. I was like, why can't I do this? Like, I'm strong enough. I'm good enough. And gosh darn it, people like me. I really was struggling at the beginning, but then I got my groove. And I single-handedly won the entire last game, which was fun.
And it was really fun because Abby's got kind of like these different pockets of friends. Mm-hmm. And so it was like the first time we all got to be together. It was a little like quiet at first because I feel like we're all different, but then I think we found the veins of where we're all very similar. Yeah. And found things to talk about.
And that's one of the reasons why she was like, she wanted a really small like group, because she was like, I don't know how people are going to get along. Like, what if everybody is like weird? Because there are all of these like, because she's got all these new friends. So Abby recently has acquired new friends that are like all her own, which she's very excited about, because ever since we've lived here, she's gotten friends through me. Like when we first moved here, I worked or I was in the MFA program, so that's how we met Lucas, and that's how Lucas and Abby became friends, was through me. And then and then she met you through work, so you were her first friend that she made on her own really here. And then she was like, and then you two became friends. So she was like,
God damn it.
And so this last year, she made some friends through working at Iron Goat, and then also joined the Spokane Tradeswomen, and that's how she met a lot of these other people. So she was like trying to braid these different pieces of her life together.
Mm-hmm. I was impressed that it did work out, because then when we were at dinner, I was like, my name is Rita. I was like trying to break the ice. I don't like awkwardness, and so I just get goofy and try to get people to loosen up. But I had kind of had a similar experience where I do have like my younger friends, kind of my gothier metalhead friends, and then I've got my friends that I call grown-ups. And I told Taylor last night, I was like, you want to go hang out with the grown-ups tonight? I'm so excited. I'm tired of hanging out with children.
Yeah, we're your grown-up friends, aren't we?
Yes, you're the grown-ups.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was a really nice night. I wanted to invite a lot more people because I'm like the person who wants a huge
crowd.
Yeah, but Abby was like, no, smaller. Get it smaller. Get it smaller. So
I felt like that when I turned 30 because I invited everybody and I was just like so nervous because I was like, what if they don't talk to each other?
Yeah, what if they don't like each
other? What if they don't like each other? What am I doing wrong? It's a lot of pressure.
It was.
A lot of social pressure.
Yeah, so cheers to everybody who's making friends in adulthood because that shit's hard.
Shit is hard.
It's so hard to make friends in adulthood, especially new friends, right? Like just people that you meet. Like one of the people that was at the party last night was Julie, right?
Oh, yeah.
And Julie is like, that's like a new friend, not through work, not through the Spokane tradeswomen really, because Julie is not a trades person, but knows the person who runs tradeswomen. And that's how come Abby met them. And
that's really cool.
Like that one feels like a legit, like new friendship that's like totally different, like not from like a coworker, blah, blah, blah. So that one is that friendship's really cool. And Julie's spouse is also really cool. And they have a 10-month-old baby. So
adorable
we can always
baby.
Only hang out with them one at a time because the other one has to be home taking care of the baby.
Taking care of the baby. Yeah, it was really fun. I had a blast. And it was fun to meet new people too and see Abby having so much fun.
Yeah.
That was a joy to watch.
Yeah,
she's got the best laugh.
Very in her element last night, which I thought was great.
Yeah, she was.
So you have a person for me today, correct?
I do.
So just so you know, everybody, don't worry. Magnus Hirschfeld's coming back. Part 2 is next time. Who do you have?
I have today Bridget Biddy Mason.
I do not know who that is.
And also Bridget. The first Black female landowner in Los Angeles.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
In LA.
In LA, of all places.
Yeah.
She was born Bridget, but she always went by Biddy, so I'm just going to call her Biddy throughout the whole thing. She was born a slave on August 15th, 1818 in Hancock County, Georgia. She was
1818?
1818.
Okay.
She was separated from her parents as a baby. She was sold a few times, working at different plantations as a child.
Gross.
And she went from Georgia to South Carolina to Mississippi. She spent most of her years on the John Smithson plantation, and she was raised by the elder women who also worked on the plantation. As a slave, obviously, they didn't get a formal education. She was taught to learn how to be, or she learned how to be a midwife. And she also learned herbology because they used a lot of the home remedies to take care of each other. And she ended up applying those in her own techniques of being a midwife when she was midwifing on her own. This is really ucky. When she was 17, she was given as a wedding gift.
Ugh,
yeah.
I hate all of this so much.
She was given as a gift to 2 cousins that were marrying each other. Rebecca and Robert. This is so bad.
Hold on one fucking second.
Yep. They were cousins.
Oh my God. Okay. The superior race, huh?
Yes. Oh God. I literally had to go back and read it because I was like, wait, what?
That's really, there's so many layers of like everything I think is gross happening
about
there.
this. So once again, she's uprooted and she was moved to Logton, Mississippi, and she was going to work at the Smith's plantation.
Forced to work.
While she was there, she had 3 children of her own. All the information that I read, it never specified who was the father of her children. It was speculated, never really confirmed that Robert Smith was the father of her children.
Oh, so she was more than likely
Raped.
assaulted. Yeah.
She
was inevitably probably assaulted, but that might be the like root of her children.
Part of why people speculate that he is the father is she was allowed to not be separated from her children.
Oh, so she got like a special privilege.
While she raised her daughters, one thing about her that came up in a lot of what I read was that she was very gentle. She was very kind-hearted. She was really social. She liked to talk to people. She was really liked and respected by a lot of people. She was also ready to offer help to anybody who needed it. She was always the one that people would go to because they knew that she would be there. I find that very admirable.
Yeah. Reminds me of Abby.
Yeah. Well, to obviously be respected within a group of people, you're obviously doing something right. In 1847, with her 3 daughters, this is going to get worse, by the way.
Oh, fuck. Okay, so we should have some content warnings?
Not in that way.
Okay.
Just what they have to go through. They were told that they were moving again, so Robert converted to Mormonism. He decided to take his entire extended family and all of his slaves and go on a pilgrimage to Utah. And this is where he wanted to settle and live. The total amount of people he decided to take was 90 people.
How?
I know. And this was going to be a journey of over 2,000 miles, and it was a 300 wagon caravan. This is like not a small
Yeah, this is a big
feat.
Also, like, okay, maybe Lucas will know this information because I certainly do not, and I'm not sure if you will. So Utah was a territory at the time, wasn't it? It was not a state?
Well, Utah was the last one to become a state.
Yeah, so I think it was a territory, and I thought that slavery was not allowed in the territories in the West. What is it? Are you looking it up, Lucas?
I am, yeah. It was a territory until 1896.
Yeah, so was slavery
So this is going to come into play during the story.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, I didn't think it was legal.
Well, Robert's a big giant jackass and thinks he can get away with anything he wants.
I see. We just have a white man with a power trip. Huh?
Exactly.
Imagine.
Shocking.
So at the start of their journey, Biddy's youngest child is just a baby. Her and her children don't get to ride in the wagons. They don't get to ride horses. She has her baby strapped on her back.
Are they walking?
And they're walking.
Fuck.
She's put in charge of herding the cattle and sheep behind the wagons. She also has to cook meals. She sets up and tears down the camp. Obviously, all of the slaves are doing this. She has to do her midwife duties, and then she's also taking care of her 3 kids. One who is an infant.
Yeah. First off, babies are constantly in need of everything. Attention. You have to bathe them, nap them, feed them, nap them, feed them, nap them. Can you
imagine just walking and you're exposed to the elements? So she was also helping one of her close friends, Hannah, with her children as well. She was very close with Hannah, and it was also alleged that Robert was the father of Hannah's children as well.
And who's Hannah? Hannah's
another slave.
Another enslaved person?
Mm-hmm. The trip to Utah took 7 months to walk.
Yeah, because you said it was more than 3,000 miles?
2,000. More than 2,000 miles. They settled there for a few years, but the leader, Brigham Young, asked people to push into California to be missionaries. And so Robert's like, we'll go. I'll do it. So once again, he pulls everybody up and moves into California. That move to California took another 2 months to walk. And this time it's through mountains, it's through the desert, and they land in the San Bernardino area. Before they left, Robert was told that California had been admitted to the Union as a free state.
Yeah.
And any slave that was brought into that territory would be free. And it was the law.
Yeah, you can't thwart the law, although people do it all the time.
Yes. He was advised to, you need to free these people before you cross into California because you could face some legal troubles. And he just ignored it. He didn't take any advice. As they settled into the area, Biddy would often go into town to get supplies. And like I said, she was a very social person, so she started to befriend other Black families who lived nearby. And one of the families that she befriended was the Owens family. And the Owens family exposed her to all these people that were all freed.
Right. I was going to say, eventually
they're going to find out.
Folks are going to figure out that they're not supposed to be enslaved.
Yeah, they were telling her, like, you could possibly gain freedom for yourself and your daughters. To her, this was like an inconceivable concept. She just didn't understand, like, how do you even start?
Well, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. How do you even pull away? Where am I going to go?
Yeah.
You know, what am I going to do for housing? You know?
Yeah. How do you get a starting fund, right?
Yeah. And I have 3 kids.
Right? It's like you have no options, even if you know the law.
Also, I couldn't imagine the extreme like conditioning of just stay in the lane and don't sway.
Yeah, when something is the only thing you've ever known, it's hard to envision what life is like without it, even if that thing is terrible, right? Like, we see children all the time who come from really abusive households, but that's the household they know.
Yeah.
And that's the household that they're comfortable with. And it doesn't, like, you know, it takes a lot of, like, help, right? To get to a place where you're like, this is not what I need or deserve.
Or even, like, people who have an abusive partner.
Yep.
And that's all that they know. And they're like, well, why didn't you just leave?
Yeah, that's a dumb question to ask anybody. Because he might kill me?
Yeah.
That's the number one answer, right? Like, that's statistically accurate. Like, the number one way that domestic abuse
ends
people
is one of
that's
dead.
The ending is that they tried to leave or they left and that person killed them. And I'm sure that, like, you could definitely classify this as one of those kinds of situations as well. If he gets word that they're going to try to leave and become free, what's going to stop him from killing them?
Yeah.
And no one would ever even know.
Yeah. And his character described in, like, the court filings, he was very, very, like, aggressive and intimidating and not a good person.
Well, I mean, he had enslaved people, so I would assume he's not a good person.
So with the Owens family, the father, Robert Owens, he was a successful businessman and a property owner. He had a son named Charles. As they spent more and more time together, Charles's son fell in love with Biddy's oldest daughter, Ellen. At the same time, so Robert is getting wind of, like we said, of the freed people are telling the enslaved people.
Yeah, talking to them.
Things are starting to...
planting ideas.
Yeah. They're learning that they could possibly obtain their freedom. He is afraid of losing, like, his financial status.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, you're the only reason you're there is because you own human beings.
Right, and, like, that was part of those people's wealth.
Yeah. So he says he wants to move again, this time to Texas. And he wants to take them all to Texas, and he wants to keep some and sell some. So he wants to, like, take care of himself. Robert and Charles Owens end up filing a petition with the sheriff's office. And they file it against Robert Smith, saying he's illegally holding people captive because it is against the law. And because Charles wants to marry Ellen, and if they leave, you know, yeah, it's just all bad. So Biddy, Hannah, and all their children are taken to the jail, and they're held for protective reasons, not because they're in trouble.
But still, come on. This is why policing is the worst. Your best option for a family fleeing enslavement is to put them in jail? Fuck you. Sorry, I'm getting very upset about that shit.
The case was brought before a judge named Benjamin Hayes. And the trial, I couldn't really figure out how long the trial went. I think it went for about 2 weeks. It gets really heated. Like I said, Robert was extremely aggressive in the courtroom, being like, when he would have to show up and, like, testify, he wouldn't show up, things like that.
Oh, yeah. He thought he was too good for anything.
He used, like, bullying tactics with people who worked at the courthouse. One of a lawyer that was thinking of taking the case, he ended up bribing the lawyer, and the lawyer never showed up. Yeah.
Wow.
And he claimed that these people were going with him willingly.
Oh, yeah. Of course he's going to claim that.
And he even intimidated some of these people to testify.
Into saying it. Yeah.
On his behalf. Just like we were saying of, like, yeah, I want to stay with him because he's a good guy. Yeah.
I mean, it's really easy to be like, if you don't say this in court, I will kill your children.
That's what I was thinking.
what you're going to do. You're going to say it. You're
Yeah.
going to say whatever he's going to make you say, because otherwise the other option is maybe your death or your kid's death or your mom's death or whatever it is that he's holding over you. He has all the power.
So Judge Hayes, at the time it was illegal for a black person to testify against a white person, but they could testify on their behalf. So Judge Hayes...
What does that mean, testify on their behalf?
Like, to their character, but it has to be positive. They can't testify against them.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
what?
the laws. So Judge Hayes is watching Robert Smith's actions in the courtroom, and he can see and witness the intimidation that's going on. So what he decides to do is he takes Biddy and her daughters into private quarters and says, I know this is scary. Do you want to tell me whether or not you're going willingly here? He had 2 witnesses, which he said were 2 trusted people in the community who really wanted to know, like, what is the truth? What is going on? And she said, she literally said, I'm too scared to answer this. And the judge said, well, Biddy, if you go to Texas, I'm not going to let your children go. I'm going to keep them here and they'll be free. And she didn't want to be separated from her children. So she did admit, I don't want to go to Texas.
I'm not going willingly.
Yeah. So he ends up upholding the petition and said it was well within the law of what was going on. It was against the law.
Right.
And he allows them to go free. He signs the documents. He gets a huge backlash from the community that is for keeping people enslaved. And it starts to affect his job. People are harassing his family. It doesn't go well for him. He ends up becoming a very serious alcoholic and drinks himself out of a job. Because
this is the judge?
This is the judge. Because of the backlash that he got for freeing these people.
My follow-up question is, so he freed Biddy and her children.
Mm-hmm.
What about the other people? Did that petition then extend to all of them?
The petition extended to all of them. Some of them went with Robert, and Hannah was one of those people. She did say, I do want to go, but I think she just didn't know what else to do.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, again, we just talked about, like, how do you set up a new life if you have nothing?
Mm-hmm. So I think some of them were like, I don't have any options.
Yeah.
So they ended up going with Robert. Some of them stayed. And Biddy and her family stayed.
What's that saying that, like, better the devil you know than the devil you don't?
Ooh.
Isn't that the saying, Lucas?
Yeah.
They were just afraid. Just terrified. So now that she has her documentation and her children have been freed, the Owens family extends that they can live with them. So they're going to give them a home.
I was going to say, I would bet money that there are other families or communities or a church or something that has already organized and galvanized that they would be able to take care of these people and get them on their feet, because that's just the way community works. But specifically, that is how, like, all of that.
And how do you think, like, when they were freed, who helped you?
Yeah, exactly.
They decide, like I said, the Owens family was a successful family. They decide to move all of them to Los Angeles. Ellen and Charles ended up getting married, and Charles started a livery company, which livery is horses, right?
Yeah, I think so, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Biddy found work with a man named Dr. John Griffin. She worked for Dr. Griffin as a medical assistant and a midwife. His clientele was all races, all classes, and together they would do free services, or if people could pay, they could pay. He ended up paying her $2.50 a day, which I think was a pretty decent amount of money.
I have no idea. Lucas, you want to do the math?
What year was that?
$2.50. This is going to be around 1856.
Okay, I'll get back to you on that in a second.
Okay.
So she lives with the Owens family for about 10 years, and she saves up this entire time. So on November 28th in 1866, she buys 2 lots bounded by Spring, Fort, 3rd, and 4th Streets, which is in the heart of what is now LA. And it makes her the first African-American woman to own her own property in LA.
Wild.
She ended up building a home on a parcel, and then she built a group of small houses for additional income. So she would rent them out, and she provided them for those other families that needed housing. And over time, she was able to buy several more lots in LA of prime, like undeveloped areas or like undeveloped property. And as the city was growing, because obviously that area is being flooded with people, she would take the parcels and flip them and sell them for like not just double, but triple, quadruple the amount.
So she's a shrewd businesswoman.
Yeah. And some of the stuff that was written about her was like she always had a paper and a pen or a pencil because she was like just writing numbers down, like thinking about what she could do, like how she could profit. And as her fortune grew, she definitely gave back. She started her own business. She stopped working for the doctor and she created her own business as a midwife. And this.
So $2.50 in 1856 was equivalent to $83.60 in today's dollars.
Well, that's not too much, but that's
it's decent. Like $84 a day. What is that a week? So times.
It's $418 a week.
And then that would be like $1,600 a month, basically.
Hang on, let me times 52 weeks. That's about 21 grand a year. Almost 22 grand a year.
Still pretty low.
That's still pretty low.
Yeah, I mean, if you like we're adjusting, right? So
yeah,
I mean, you couldn't live on 21 grand. So the fact that she was
not
like,
not in LA,
the fact that she was squirreling that money away and then was able to use that to build herself some wealth, that's pretty impressive.
So she did start her own midwife business. She did the same thing she did with Dr. Griffin. She would do her services, but then she'd also provide it for people who couldn't afford it. She ended up opening, because people would come to her and kind of talk to her about what they were struggling with. So she would like open store accounts for people, and she'd say, go get the food that you need for the week, or go get the clothes that you need, or go get whatever, the baby needs, or whatever your children need to have, go get a pair of shoes or something like that. So she would just open these store accounts and leave them so that people who were less fortunate could go and get stuff that they needed to live. She ended up learning and speaking fluent Spanish.
Ugh.
So she could service the Latin community that was there. And she also provided like translating for people. She decided to start going to prisons to provide free healthcare.
Jesus, she is a goddamn saint.
Yes. She also founded an orphanage because she deeply loved children. And there were so many children that some of their parents did leave with their owners and the children stayed. So they would be
quote
free.
Unquote their owners.
Yes. In 1872, Biddy and her son-in-law founded and financed the first African Methodist Episcopal Church. It was the city's first all-black church, and she donated the land that it was built on.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
That church still exists today in what the community calls Black LA, and it is the oldest African-American church in the city. And she was a strong presence in the community. Everybody knew her. They knew if you needed help, you could go to her. She was referred to as the grandmother of LA. And there's a few children's books written about her, and a lot of them are titled The Grandmother of LA. And her image is depicted on a lot of murals and statues all over the city. In the actual church, there's like this giant mural that's like on the ceiling, and she's in it. She's like on the side.
Oh, I would love to go see that.
It's really colorful. It's really pretty. Her legacy goes on through the Biddy Mason Charitable Foundation, and it's a foundation to help and house and transition foster children.
Oh, that's really a good cause.
She still has 2 living descendants who also have a foundation under her name. It's two Black women. I could only find one's name, and it was Cheryl Cox. They were just on the LA news about 11 months ago, where they were kind of rededicating this mural that's in downtown LA, or like a a statue that's of Biddy downtown. And they wanted to like celebrate, I think it was her birthday. And so her only two living descendants were down there and speaking on her behalf.
Do you know what the descendant line is? Like, are
it
they
was like
great
granddaughters?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And her great times 6 granddaughter said, Biddy always had a saying, if you keep your hand closed, nothing good can come in. An open hand is blessed, for it gives abundance even as it receives.
Oh,
so that was very beautiful.
Did she make that up? That has to have come from somewhere. I wonder if it's from the Bible.
Might be from the Bible. So they do have their foundation under their great times 6 grandmother's name. And by the time Biddy died at the age of 72 in 1891, her accumulated properties were worth over $300,000.
In 1891? Lucas, what is that?
One moment.
Because that seems like that's going to be a lot of money.
And that considered her.
What was the total? Sorry.
300,000.
Okay.
More than 300,000?
More than 300,000. Yeah. Let's call it 350.
So $350,000 in 1891 would be $11,694,273 in 2022.
Yeah, it's almost $12 million.
Yeah.
Jesus. Well, that number makes her the wealthiest real estate mogul of her time.
Yeah,
yeah.
I would imagine.
She knew how to flip a coin.
Yeah, she was really smart, very shrewd.
Very smart. I really enjoyed watching. I watched a lot of YouTube videos of a lot of Black like community leaders in LA, and Biddy's very important for them because a lot of people have like pictures of her and dedications to her on the wall to inspire them of, you know, it was really hard for her to go through how her life started and very scary for her to take that step and then to just be able to still be kind and give to her community and create something that probably fucking made that part of LA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She created a lot out of nothing.
Exactly. Biddy Mason Collaborative Free Forever is where I got a lot of my information. It was written by Hadley Mears. And then I watched a video by the VFCW Oceanside Public Library, where this historian, Shelley Karen, did an oral history of Biddy's story. And Biddy's 2 descendants were there and they stood up and spoke.
Oh, that's really cool.
It was really cool. It was really fun to like see the interaction. They did a panel and ask questions and things like that.
You should post the video on our Facebook at some point during the week.
And I got some information from Black Past. And that is my story.
I love Biddy. I had never heard of her before.
Me neither. And there are so many
surprised
books written about her, and there's children's books. And I was really like, where have I been?
I know. I mean, I think that almost every time we record, like, how come we don't fucking know this? Like, why isn't it just something we all know about? But here we are. That's why we have the show.
This is why we do this.
This is why we do the show. I really loved her story, and I'm like, I want to go down the rabbit hole and find out more about her and her descendants and stuff like that.
And the court case, I kind of took it into a nutshell because, man, there was so much legality stuff in there, and I was like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, well, and I'm sure some of our listeners are like, thank you for not including all of that stuff. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
I loved hearing about Biddy. And thank you to our lovely, beautiful, honey-voiced
mathematician.
Yes, Lucas McIntyre.
That's hilarious. I use westegg.com/inflation to find out the inflation numbers if you're interested.
Thank you for giving credit.
And thank you to our listeners for always being there for us. Don't forget that I do weekly posts on our Patreon that are fun and funny and sometimes sad, like when I write about my mom. But yeah, it's fun for me to do, and I'm enjoying it, and I've gotten good feedback from y'all who are participating in it. So if you're interested in that, please join our Patreon, and part of that money also goes to Nick. So if that's the way you want to donate, you can. It's as little as $3 a month.
And we'd like to thank Jennifer Finch for our theme music. And thank you to the Spokane Public Library for this awesome space.
For holding us here. Until next time.
Bye, folks.